So, okay, we're recording. Now I can really start. So welcome to Cloudy County. This is a extension focused learning community about modern work tools in the Microsoft 365 workspace. Our goal is to empower you and equip you with tools that you probably already have access to. So the theme that we've been doing for the last, Joe, it's been what, 7 months now, I think? Somewhere,
Yeah,
somewhere in
seven,
there.
8. Yep.
We have a birthday coming up soon. But what we've been doing is we've been slowly going through all of the tools that are included in the Microsoft 365 subscription. You probably maybe just think of like Office, but there's other stuff up there in the cloud that you can use to make your life a little bit easier. So Joe and I have worked with Extension in Florida for a long time, and we're happy to share that knowledge with the larger Extension community. And it's a lot of fun. So that's really what we're here for, is to have fun. This month, we're going to be talking about Microsoft Forms. If you get super excited when it comes to like building surveys and quizzes, you're going to love this. If you don't get super excited and you just want to have access to your data when people fill out surveys and quizzes that you begrudgingly made, then you'll still like this because Forms is going to make accessing those data sets a lot easier. It's going to make initiating business processes a lot easier, and you're going to see some pretty cool ways of how it like kind of plugs into the rest of the programs that are in Microsoft 365. And again, that is a big theme. That's one of the beautiful things about these apps is they all kind of talk to each other. They're all connected and are aware of one another. So
Dwayne,
that's
you mentioned two things real quick. You said survey and quiz. I think I just want to put one more kind of phrase in there for everybody to think about: a data collection. So this tool can be used um, for collecting data. We've seen it used by extension agents out in the field. They want to collect some data, some consistent um, fields that they are collected,
like
some
actual
consistent
fields.
patterns. Yeah, out in the field collecting
Yeah.
field data. This is another way to kind of think about that too. So not just survey quizzes, but a way to get data into, well, and we'll show you something pretty cool, but kind of a very easy way, mobile friendly way to do that.
Before we get too far into the feature highlight of Microsoft Forms, we like to keep you aware and on your toes of new features that are coming and how they might impact you, or new things that may have just come out recently. So we typically don't spend a terribly long time on that, but there's a few things that are coming that are probably, they're going to move your cheese. And so we want to just make sure that you know that they're doing that and how to get to it. So Joe, do you want to start us off with a what's new topic?
Sure. Let's go with. Now this is something around permissions and capabilities around managing the files and who has permissions in a Microsoft team to modify your files. So sometimes we have a concept in a team where maybe there's a set of files that are PDF forms that you're supposed to fill out to complete for a travel request or purchasing or something like that. And you might want to create a folder called forms, and you might want those files to be read only. The basis around this new easy to access capability is the ability to set a file to read only to just the members. So if you're an owner, um, you can do this kind of work. You used to have to go to SharePoint to do this, the file storage behind the scenes with Microsoft Teams. Now it's exposed right inside a team. So it's very easy to take a file, and you can do this to a folder, and all the files under it would also become read only. But if we click our favorite little three dots next to a file, you're going to get a pop-up menu, and now we have access to this thing called Manage Access. And when we select Manage Access, we're going to see some of the security groups, and even if there was a link sharing set up for that single file, you'll see that too. What we want to focus on is there's going to be a group called members that's going to show up in this list. And that's everybody who's a member of this team. And right now there's a little icon that says they can edit. Looks like a little, maybe a pencil through it. Very easy to click that drop down and just set it to can view. And from that point on, that file now, for people who are just members, not owners, but just members, that file is going to be read only. And again, you can do that to a folder, and all the files inside that folder will become read only.
Yeah, that's a really that's a big efficiency improvement in my opinion. You know, I put in the chat jokingly SharePoint with like the screaming face, because Joe and I used to joke that we waited a couple of years before we talked to our people and said, hey, all your files are actually in SharePoint, because a lot of people will get super freaked out and a little bit intimidated by SharePoint. But SharePoint is very agile, very nimble. It can, you can control permissions. Teams, the objective of Teams was to make it easy. The concept was you add somebody to a team, they have access to everything that's in the team. The reality is if you want to dig a little bit deeper, you can actually modify the permissions on the folders that are sitting inside of Teams. And theoretically, if you know, depending on how your organization is configured, you can share things out, you know, with select folks outside of your team without having to give them access to the entire team. And you can lock things down even amongst members of the team, like Joe was just showing. So a district level team that might have some core documentation that everybody needs to be able to see, but you don't want people to be able to edit, you can do that. And now you can do that without having to leave the context of the Teams application. You could do it before through SharePoint, but that was just kind of one more hoop you had to jump through. And again, people would get a little freaked out sometimes, you know? And so you also had to make sure you were logged in with the right account. And we all know as extension agents, you are probably juggling a couple of different accounts. So it's like, did it work? I don't know. Am I logged in with my university credentials, or am I logged in with my county credentials? Doing it this way in Teams just eliminates all that. So it makes it a whole lot easier, which I feel like is a great improvement. The next thing that I'm going to show that was that's coming soon. This is not out, so you likely are not seeing this right now, but we wanted you to see it. We wanted you to know about it. Is the meeting control bar, the meeting toolbar that's inside of Teams is changing. So if you look at yours right now, you know, you've got all your little menus across the top, right? You can mute yourself, you can turn your camera on and off, you can hit the meatball menu, the more menu, and you can drop that down and you'll have, you know, little options to turn on captions and all those types of things. They have made some really subtle changes to the bar. The first change that they made is, you'll notice, whoops, that was a really bad line. That's not even a line. Here we go. So the raise hand button and the reaction buttons have been split. Right now, they're kind of comboed together. I've seen folks accidentally raise their hand in meetings now in this change has rolled out, meaning to like clap, you know, because clap, I mean, that looks nothing like that. That's color and moving, and that's not, but it's just instinctive, you know. The next thing that changed that's pretty big is you're going to see all these little fly out menus now. So if you want to turn on captions, like right now, this menu, I think is probably like that, you know, it's pretty big with all the things that you can do. So now they've made these little compartments to compartmentalize it into different kinds of things. So if you wanted to turn on captions, you would do that under the language and speech menu. If you wanted to edit your device settings, you could do that under the settings menu. So just know that this is coming. When you see this, I don't want you to be surprised and freak out and say, I don't know how to change my camera or something. So just know that everything, and we said this from day one in this community, if you're looking for something, it's probably under this little ... menu. Everywhere in Office 365 that you see 3 dots, or we call it the meatball menu, you're going to find more settings. So take a breath and check under the meatballs.
And I think also just having that menu bar now at the top on the web, instead of being kind of getting hidden inside of the at the bottom of the
Mhm.
meeting pane is probably also a great change. That much easier to
Yeah.
always have those controls available, easy to mute, unmute. Those kind of things are going to be more visible
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, the web experience was vastly different, and that really does matter a lot for extension programming. If you are pulling in folks from the general community and you're teaching them how to do something and you're using a Teams meeting online, if they join without the Microsoft Teams app on their computer installed, they're going to get a different experience, or at least they used to. Now they get an experience that looks more like this. And so think about that. I mean, that's going to make your job easier because if you make an infographic ahead of time and you like, maybe you screenshot this bar up here and you point arrows at all the different things that they can do. That's going to be one screenshot to rule them all now instead of having to try to predict, well, what is it going to look like if they join from the web? What's it going to look like if they join from an iPad? So at least now it'll be one less thing that you have to do there. Joe, do we have any more what's new, or are we gonna rock and roll into forms?
I think we can go straight into forms now.
Cool. All right. So pop quiz, where would you start if you wanted to make a form? 100 points to whoever gets the right answer. I mean, there's more than one right answer. So we have taught everyone from the beginning that office.com is kind of like the starting place. This is where you want to go anytime you want to do anything in the webby, cloudy type world of Office 365 or now Microsoft 365. So notice this big banner here. Hopefully everybody's been seeing that in their university. So office.com should be a page that everybody is familiar with. Hopefully, maybe even make it your start page. I don't know. The app launcher up here, we call this the waffle. We like food, so everything that we that we name has a food theme. And you're going to see forms listed in all the apps that you can go through. If you're not sure about these other apps, if you go back and watch the very first Cloudy County meeting that we ever did, we went through, I think, almost every single one of these. Like we tried to do it in an hour. At least just briefly touch on what they do. But when you click on forms, you're going to be taken to what I'm going to call the forms landing page. This is okay. This is kind of like it's going to show you recent stuff, kind of like recent documents. It's going to show you recent forms that have been worked on either by you or by your peers. One really kind of like not super obvious button is right down here. This is going to take you to the more, if you used forms a couple years ago, this is going to take you to the more traditional My Forms view. So I'm going to click on that. And I'm not saying that the forms landing page is wrong or bad or whatever, but this is going to give you more stuff. You're going to see probably a more familiar view, like I said, if you've used forms in the past. Joe, is that making sense? Like, because these are, I mean, this is useful. I like this. You can
Yeah,
generate a new form from
that's
here.
more
You can
like
work on forms from
what are the
here.
most recent things I'm working on, really,
Yeah.
is what you're getting there. Kind of your most recent forms. Quick to get back to them.
You can, like I said, you can start new forms from here. Again, one of the things that we talked about early on is in extension, you are connected to a land grant university. Obviously, you all know that. I'm not teaching anything there, but Microsoft kind of puts you in the same bucket as education. And education is more than just higher ed. Think K-12 as well. So Microsoft 365 for education is what you have. So you're going to see things like start off with a new quiz rather than start off with a new form. They might think that you're about ready to quiz a bunch of third graders. I don't know. If you click this little arrow right next to new quiz, you're going to see a drop down and you can create a new form. So this would be a survey. This would be for data intake like Joe was talking about. I think that's a really good example that thank you, Joe, for reminding me and bringing that up. If you're in the field or you're taking measurements or something like that, it might be easy to make a form rather than trying to edit a spreadsheet from your iPhone. You know, that's not an enjoyable experience. Uh, so, but again, if you go into all my forms, you're going to be able to see forms across like your recycle bin forms. Like if you've deleted them, you'll actually be able to delete forms from here. You'll be able to import things. You'll be able to create collections. There's a lot of organizational type things that you can do inside of this menu.
I think those collections are probably very helpful. Is if you become a forms aficionado, you're going to end up with a bunch and making collections of them, sort of like little folders for them. If
Yep.
they've got maybe the same type of purpose or per year or something like that, if you want to, that's something you want to be able to take advantage of.
Yep. This is a little organizational deal. So I can drag all these in here. And if I've got a whole bunch of forms about collecting information on peanuts, I can make a peanut container. It's called a collection here, but or they just call it a folder.
That's a peanut shell right there, I guess.
Yeah, peanut shell. There we go. One of the things about forms that I feel like is a helpful foundational type mindset is think about these the same way you would think about a document. When you are working in a modern storage location like Teams or OneDrive, and you're working with documents, the same kind of stuff kind of applies to these forms as well. So when you create a form, there's two different places that form can live. It can live in your OneDrive, or it can live in a group like a team. So you need to ask yourself, who does this form belong to? Is this form mine and mine alone? I'm using it for my own process that nobody else is ever going to mess with, or maybe I'm collecting information from students that attended a class that I gave or a presentation that I gave. That's fine. But if it's a business process for like travel reimbursement for your department or something like that, well, it might need to belong to more than just you. So having that form live inside of a group, like a team, gives everyone access to be able to work on that form just like they would, again, like a document. When you create a new form, well, actually, let me go back a level, because on the landing page, one of the things that I like is you're actually going to see down here, my groups. And these groups are going to more or less align with the teams that you're a member of. So if you wanted to create a form in the Cloudy County team, you could just click on that group from that landing page, and you're going to see now the language has actually changed, a new group quiz or a new group form. You could build the form right from there. And I guess, Joe, we should probably show the experience in Teams of creating one in Teams, I guess, while we're talking about how to do that.
I think that's a good place to do your group form creation. I think because we'll show kind of an advantage of what happens to your backend data file when we do that.
Yeah, so I'm going to create a channel called Microsoft Forms. Maybe. There we go. And so a few different things you can do here. The first thing that you can do is in Teams, you've got your group of people in the team. You've got your channels, which are your subject areas, your topic areas, the things that you and your peers are talking about. And then inside of that channel, you've got tabs across the top. These are items that you can kind of like highlight. These are things that you want to bring to the forefront of everybody's attention who might wander into that channel. Under that plus sign, you're going to see Microsoft Forms. Now, when you create or when you click this, you're going to get a few different things that you can do. You can create a brand new form that your team can work on with you. This is not for forming your peers. You're not trying to collect data from your peers by doing this. You're trying to create, again, a document that you're all going to collaborate on. Or if your team already has forms inside of it, you can add an existing form and you'll have the ability to search. Like maybe you got a bunch of forms connected to a team. This is pretty nice. When you choose an existing form, you're going to have this box right here. This is important because this box is going to say, do I want to collect information in this tab or do I want to show the results in this tab? So we're going to create a new form. And we're going to call it, well, I'm going to keep going with the peanuts. Peanut, here we go. Peanut butter. How about that? Peanut butter survey. I'm going to untick this. Not that it matters, but click save. So now what we've got is we've got this tab, and notice it says edit right in front of it. That is exactly what it means. I'm going to go into this form. I'm going to edit this form. I'm going to work on this form. I'm going to build my survey.
And anybody in the team right now who would go to that form, they're also going to end up in edit mode at the same time. And you can, multiple people can edit.
And there's kind of a similarity to, again, to an Office document where you're going to see people working on it, right? So there's a little bit of awareness there that you can kind of co-author a form at the same time. Yep. So I see Joe just jumped into it. Thanks, Joe, for doing that on so quick. So this is kind of nice that, again, like a document, you're all working on this form together. You're building your survey together. Maybe you're on a Teams call and you're talking about it as you're working on it. That's a really cool use case for building your form. It's an art. Like I know Joe and I, we had a friend in Extension, and she was an expert at building surveys. And so we called upon her from time to time. And we're like, hey, we want to ask some questions, but we don't know how to ask the questions without it being wrong. You know, like, I guess you could build a survey that would lead people to answer a certain way, and we didn't want to do that. So anyway.
Crunchy versus smooth in this one, I think. We'll figure that out.
Oh, good idea. Before we do, well, I guess I'll go ahead and do that. So you're going to start adding questions, and there are different question types. The first 4 here are just the default. You know, you can do multiple choice. You can have them enter in some text. You can do a short answer or a long answer. You can have them rate it on a specific kind of scale. You can have them punch in a date, and you've got a little that kind of looks like a check mark, but it's a down arrow. You have more question types. You have ranking, where you could give them 5 options and have them drag them up and down the list into the order of their preference. You can use a Likert gauge, which I guess, Joe, you got any info here? This is like a standard.
I guess it's around opinions on how well you're doing. Or some type of service you're providing.
Yeah, so it's used to gauge attitudes and opinions about a topic. You can allow them to upload files. Asterisk on this. The file upload option right now only works if your form is set to only allow people from within your organization to upload files. So don't get too excited. I know, trust me, I feel that pain. You want to collect stuff from people outside your university because that's who you talk to in Extension. You don't just work with people inside your university. So trust me, I get that. Hopefully in the future, we'll see some changes there. Net Promoter Score, again, that's another gauge that they can use that I guess is a standardized gauge, kind of like another rating. Let me delete that real quick. Also notice that right there, saving. So again, like a document, as you're working on it, it's going to automatically save your changes. There's no save button. You just work on it, which is nice. Let's do a choice. Joe, you said favorite style of peanut butter?
Sure.
See, I'm already starting off with not even asking a question. Not even spelling peanut butter right. I'm pretty bad at this. Okay, so we've got option 1, option 2. You can add more options. Are there even more options? Peanut butter? I guess there's the one that has the jelly mixed in with it. So you can put these options in. You can make this. You can give them multiple answers if you wanted to. Let's say it's not just a one and done kind of question. They can click off, you know, all that apply, and notice it changed from radio buttons to checkboxes. So we'll go back and forth. but I'm pretty sure there can only be one. So smooth, crunchy, and with jelly. I don't know. Oh, he said creamy. I like that better. Creamy. Okay. I'm not seeing oh, you can rearrange them. So that little pad right there, if you decided you wanted to change the order of these, you can drag them around and put them in a different order, saving.
There's an easy
And
add other option built right in. So if you want to give them the
yep,
ability to enter their own value, you can do that.
yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, they could. So this becomes what does this do, Joe? It's a text field, so they can
Just a
type
little
in their
text
own
field there.
answer.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really flexible because yeah, like if you were to lock it to only multiple choice and their choice doesn't exist, they're kind of left out. So I like having that. You can mark this as a required question or you can make it an optional question. And again, remember what we said about meatballs. Every time you see meatballs, there's more things that you can do. So we can turn this into a drop down instead of having it be a large taking up more space on the screen. So now it's a drop down. I know it doesn't look like a drop down, but just wait. We'll show you how to preview that and see that. You can also shuffle these questions and you can add subtitles to them. So before we get too far, let me show you the preview button here. So when you go into preview, this is what your survey takers are going to see. This is really handy to kind of check your design, check your what you've built so far and make sure it looks right. You also have a mobile button here, so you can see theoretically what it would look like if somebody was taking this from their cell phone. So forms will automatically switch over into a mobile-friendly format if a user is detected and accessing the survey from a mobile device. And before we get too far, I'm actually going to close out of this and I'm going to go back over to office.com. I'm going to refresh my forms page here. And you'll see that this forms landing page has the most recent thing that I worked on. And now under my groups, it says I have a total of one form connected to Dwayne's test team, which is great. That's what we wanted. The experience of editing a form in the web browser is a little bit different because you're not contained or confined inside of the Teams application itself. You are accessing, what would you call this, Joe? Like the natural full experience of forms, I guess. I'm not really sure. Okay, so we're getting some nice tool tips here too about you could make this peanut butter quiz. It's not a quiz, but you can make it timed. You've got 5 minutes to tell me what your favorite peanut butter is. I'm not going to add that to this. So I'm going to switch this back to a radio button. And this is what I noticed was missing in Teams, Joe. Oops, let me
to
hover over that.
add a picture for each one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. So the forms editing experience in the Teams app, like I said, is a little bit different than the forms editing experience in the web. They have recently added the ability for you to create or to upload an image as an answer. So think about honeybees. You could say, pick out the, oh gosh, are there any bee people on here? There's something about extra wings on their back. I don't know. I'm making myself sound stupid here, but the thorax, you could, have different anatomy pictures of a bee, and you could have those pictures as options that they could answer. So you're not even like, that's pretty cool. I think like I could see use cases for identifying pieces and parts of a structure or a type of apparatus that you have, or a sensor, or again, a bee. So honeybee versus yellow jacket. There we go. So maybe honeybees have an extra thing. I'm flapping my wings back here. So you could have that picture and have that question there, identify the secondary wing, and then you could have them have to select the right image that matches with that question, which I think is pretty cool. Or in a more of a survey mentality, which one of these things appeals to you the most, right? I've seen some pretty cool mock-ups of agroeconomics where they create produce stands and stuff, and the layouts that they do. You know, you could have a, which one of these do you like better, you know, and have pictures of something and have them pick it. I think that's pretty cool. I'm going to add a couple more mock-up questions here, just because, you know, I'm just going to run with it. How likely would you, so we're getting some AI now. How likely would you recommend our product? Okay.
How about a question like, what day of the week do you like to eat peanut butter? And we can do some AI there.
Okay, so because I asked it about days, it detected that I said day of the week, and now it's going to give me lots of different options here for days of the week. I can just click add all, boom, and they're all in there. I noticed that Saturday and Sunday were missing, so we need to have those on there for sure. Oh, Sunday. It saw that I wanted Sunday too, so it filled it in for me, so that's nice. And then I'm going to add one more. Please rate creamy peanut butter. So we have a rating scale here, and I'm going to go with hearts as the scale. So 1 heart is I don't like it. 5 hearts is that's my jam or my butter. So we'll do our preview again so that we can see what it looks like. And this is looking pretty nice, right? We've got, I might make this one. Well, no, I said favorite day. So you got to pick one. You can't pick more than one. I'm gonna go back and we're gonna show off another very new thing that they're doing in Forms is themes. If you have played with PowerPoint and the stock imagery and the stock videos that are included in that, Microsoft is really kind of plugging that library, that very extensive library of stock imagery and video into lots of different places inside of Microsoft 365. They're even doing background music. So you can you do like Jeopardy? I don't know.
Got to set the time limit too then.
I'm gonna pick there's no like, as far as I can tell, there's no like prompt I can give it to say show me stock imagery of peanut butter. That may not even be a thing. I'm not really sure. But we've got a little video header now. You can actually make the entire background, I think, a video, maybe. Thought you could. Nope. Maybe it's just the header. Oh well, you can make your forms fun. That's basically the idea. So this is like a this is the new cover page thing, Joe. I remember reading about this. It's giving me like a template here to make this RSVP form or something like that. So any of the, I saw something in there about royalties in the chat. Any of the stuff that is here, you are covered because this is stuff that you are licensed to use. One of the things, I'll go off on a tangent real quick about the stock stuff that's in PowerPoint. If you used PowerPoint to create an image or a PDF, a flyer, a sign, a poster, whatever, you are 100% allowed to do that. You can create it in Microsoft PowerPoint, save it as a PDF, send it off to your favorite printing company, have 1 billion of them printed out, upload it on Facebook, post it on LinkedIn. All of those things are okay. That's what those things are there for. Same kind of thing applies to forms, except you're not going to print out in most cases your form with stock imagery included in it. There was a question about what if you use PowerPoint to create a video and put that on YouTube? That is also fine. If PowerPoint is what you used to create the thing, then you're fine. What they don't want you to do is to just go into the image viewer in PowerPoint and import or, pull in a nice stock photo of peanuts and then take that picture and pull it out of PowerPoint and then go put it in Photoshop and use Photoshop to make your stuff. Or take that picture and throw it on your blog like it's a picture that you took with your own camera, which is not the case. That's the only thing that they don't want you to do. If you use these tools to author and create content, that's what they're there for, and you are totally covered. We have a link somewhere that goes straight to the statement from Microsoft where they talk about premium content usage and what you're allowed to do with it. I know y'all can't hear that, but that's weird. I don't know about let me turn my if I can turn my sound on. That was weird. I don't know about this. Filling out my peanut butter survey. I think that's kind of cool. I think it's interesting to make it a little bit more immersive, maybe. It's going to stand out, that's for sure. I've never taken an online form that had background music and moving video in it. So I'm going to leave it like that. I'm going to delete all this. And Joe, I see, are you updating questions? Are you cleaning up my mess or something?
I was just adding some pictures. I was going to see about, but I think you're maybe editing inside of the theme or something like that is not allowing me to keep those right now.
Okay. Well, let's keep rolling. So now let's say this is done. This is a super professional peanut butter survey. Billions of people are going to tell me what kind of peanut butter they like. So now what you need to do is you need to make some decisions on who's going to take this survey, right? We've already established this survey lives inside of Teams. That means that my teammates, like Joe, have access to work on it with me. They'll also have access to the data set that gets spit out by it. So let's take a look and see where that is first. Oops, I need to be in the forums channel. This is the gold mine of Microsoft Forms. If you've used any other survey product, web-based survey product or whatever, you might be familiar with a routine where you have to go once a week, once a day, whatever it might be, and go grab the export from it. It might come across as a CSV file. It might be nice enough to make it an Excel file for you, but you're going to have to go get it, and then you're going to have to download it. The screen didn't change. Joe, can you see?
I just see the survey still.
Let me reshare. Sorry. All right, good now?
Okay. Yep.
Okay, so let me show how I got to that. So remember the channel I was in where I made my form. Thank you, Ron, for catching that. So I'm in the channel where I created my form, and if I go to the Files tab, I'm going to see the Excel spreadsheet that is ultimately the data that is collected by my form. So those other solutions that I was referring to where you have to go grab the export and then you have to download it and then maybe go over to where you like your main spreadsheet and like consolidate or reconcile or copy or merge or whatever you might do. You don't have to do any of that with forms. This spreadsheet is live updated. As people are filling your form out, like if you're in the form, and we're going to test this, I'm going to hit you all up with, you're going to tell me what your favorite kind of peanut butter is. You're going to see people answering it while I'm looking at it, which is so cool. So this thing is literally live, which I feel like makes your life easier because now that's one less step in your day or your week or whatever it may be on how to get that data. All right, so did you fill it out, Joe? Yeah, there we go. Nice. All right, I'm gonna minimize this and we're gonna keep going with peanut butter survey. So when we want to collect responses, so I'm going to hit collect responses. You have this is a new experience. You might not see it exactly like this in your university. It just depends on how Microsoft's rolled the updates out. You are going to have these three options. Anyone can respond, which basically means it's completely anonymous. You could put a question in there that says, what's your first name? What's your last name? Right. And hope that they are truthful. But it means anyone from outside the university could complete this survey, or inside the university. You can lock it down to say only people inside of my university can respond. A really cool benefit here is that if you have to log in order to be able to fill out my form, I can automatically collect your first name, last name, and your email address. So I don't even have to ask you what your first name is and your last name, or your employee ID. Think about this from a business processes perspective of a travel form, right? That's just less things I have to answer. Another cool thing that Joe likes to point out is when we talk about like signatures or proving, signing my receipt or whatever, some universities are some organizations are kind of adopting the mindset of, if I logged in to Microsoft Office, I proved who I am already. And then I said, yes, I bought that. In a lot of cases, that's good enough. It doesn't also require an old school Scrabble or scribble with a pen, right? I've already told you who I am, and I've typed in my password, to verify that I am who I am. So that's something to think about, not forms specific. Or you can lock it down to only specific people. So I'm going to make this anyone, and then I'm going to say shorten it, and you're going to get a shorter little URL there that you could paste online. You obviously can route this thing through like a Bitly or some other type of redirect service so that you can gather analytics from it. And you have some options for distribution. You can post this right into a Teams channel if it's like an internal kind of survey. You can post this into a Teams group chat. You can fire this up as an email and email it to a distribution list. You can create a QR code, and this is pretty nice because it took my themeified it for me, and I can download this QR code. And Joe showed me a little trick where maybe you don't want all that. You can just right click on the QR code itself, and you can get just the QR code. You don't have to take it with all the snazzy stuff connected to it. And if you're a webby person, you can get the embed code so that you can embed this into an existing website. That's pretty cool. We've got a service that we offer through our extension office. We have a public facing website, and people want to get their soil tested. We could create a form that collects all that information about them getting their soil tested and just embed it straight on our public facing webpage.
Someone had a question about CAPTCHA and maybe the security around completing these forms. I think I've got an example where that was helpful. We had a very old standard web form built in some PHP code of some sort, and it was basically getting filled up with spam. There was some spam bot filling it out, and we converted that to a Microsoft Forms form and embedded it in that same exact web page, and that completely eliminated that from having any problems. So there is some kind of security looking for spam people trying to fill out those forms.
Yeah. And there are some things that you should not type in your form, like what's your password? Don't do stuff like that, because that will make this form get automatically detected as a malicious form, and it will be blocked at like an organizational level, and it will send an alert to admins. So don't do that. So just I'm not trying to scare anybody. I'm just saying, there's some things you should not say. So I'm going to copy the link for anyone can respond. But before I do that, I want to keep traveling over. So we went preview, theme, collect responses, meatballs. Inside the meatballs, you have more options. You have collaborate or duplicate. This is kind of interesting. Maybe I want to share this with someone who's not in my team. Maybe I've put this file in my team, or this file is in my OneDrive, and I want people, I want a peer of mine to be able to work on this form with me. I could share a collaboration link with them, again, like I would with the document, so that we can work on this form together and build our survey together. Or maybe you built a really cool form and like peanut butter survey went viral. Everybody loves it. All the counties in my state now want to survey their people on what kind of peanut butter they like. And Dwayne's survey was awesome. And we don't want to reinvent the wheel. You can share this form as a template. And when people click it, it will create a copy of that form and pull it into their forms so that they can then customize it and work on it. Pretty awesome. If we keep going down the menus, we got settings. This is pretty nice where you can start to establish, again, who can fill the form out, but now you've got some more controls on how long is this form available for? You know, maybe this form runs through the end of this week, and if you didn't tell me about your peanut butter come Saturday, sorry, you know, the form has expired. The timer, shuffling, progress bar is useful. There's some more advanced stuff that we'll get into maybe next month with skipping logic. Skip logic, I think, is what one of the other platforms calls it. Forms calls it branching, where you can kind of like a choose your own adventure book. Like if you said no to question number 1, then questions 2, 3, and 4 don't apply to you. So it will drop you down to question 5. If you do stuff like that, and you have a more advanced form with sections and branching, you can put in a progress bar at the bottom that will allow people to kind of understand how far along they are in this process. Like, how long is this going to take? You know, I've been here for 10 minutes and I'm only 2%, which is nice. You can hide the submit another response button. This is a big deal. An anonymous form, it used to be an anonymous form when you would complete it. It would say, thanks for answering. Click here to submit another answer. And it would almost encourage people to fill the form out more than once, which is not, I don't know. I never got that. So I'm glad to see this. I'm going to click that. You can customize your thank you message and, you know, maybe even put in a little message. If you have problems, email me here, something like that. And then we can do a receipt. So if people want to print out their own responses, they can do that, and they can punch in their email to get a copy of their, or no, I'm sorry, you can get an email when people fill the form out, so you can get notified that people have answered your form. Sorry, I was getting a phone call and I forgot to follow my own advice and put my phone on vibrate.
That customized thank you message is really helpful when you maybe want to give them an idea of maybe your response time, if that's necessary. That's a good place to put that.
All right, everybody ready to answer my survey? I hope, right? So it looks like we got it set. Collect responses. I'm going to drop it in the chat. So this is going to be the fill out my survey. So if y'all can click that link, I'm going to click over here, and if everything works and the peanut butter stars align, I should start seeing. Ooh, my phone is blowing up. Now I'm getting a safety alert. Golly. Hey, there they go. Oh, interesting. It's almost 50. Whoa, it's almost 50-50. I was going to say somebody likes jelly. Like that. Somebody went totally off the rails and said Nutella. Joe, was that you?
No, that wasn't me.
Rancid.
It's anonymous now.
So while this is fun, I feel like, again, I want to highlight, this is one of the really core, true, powerful things about Microsoft Forms is I'm in the data set and it's alive updating as you're doing it. You know, I don't have to ever worry about going and downloading this. If I wanted to give somebody access to this data set, it's just a document like any other document in Microsoft Teams. I could go up here to share, and I could just share it out to somebody. I could give them read-only access so that they could see it. Maybe they're like a data analyst, big data person, and they're using this to suck it into a Power BI report or something more fancy and powerful. You could do that here as well. You do get some pre-canned pretty charts. So you are going to get some stuff, right? You're going to get some pie charts. You're going to get some bar graphs. If you had questions that had just words in it, you would get a word cloud, which is kind of cute. But you do get some stuff. You can obviously, I mean, it's Excel. You can take the data from Excel and you could do a bajillion things with it, right? The sky's the limit. It's where the clouds are, after all. Now, when you're looking at these results, you can view the individual results. So I can see what Joe said specifically. Because this was an external anonymous form, I'm not going to be able to see people's names unless you asked for their name and they answered it truthfully. Maybe I want to share this with somebody, you know, like they don't need this, right? This is like raw data. You know, if this was gigantic and an eye bleeding, you know, spreadsheet, that's maybe not something you want to share with somebody, but they like the basic charts and graphs. 3 dots, remember, 3 dots is your friend. You can share a summary link. So I'm going to copy this and I'll open this up in a new tab. If you were to share this link with someone, this is all they'd see, right? Maybe they just need enough to know the 10,000 foot view of what's going on, and this thing's good enough. We understand that our industry partners need to make more creamy peanut butter because that's what people want. You get that from this. Question in the chat was, so results are private until you share it. The results are, remember where this form lives. This form lives inside of, right now, my group in my Microsoft team. So anybody in my team could get these results. In fact, when we first started off, Joe already did it for me. He created a tab called results. So when you go and you create a forms tab and you say, I want to add an existing form, and you choose your peanut butter survey, you can you can select just that results view, and you can make that a tab inside of Teams. And when you click it, it's basically the same thing as the summary. It's just going to load that right away. So,
and you could load that URL you have for the shared path into a different team, because anybody with that link will be able to see those results. So maybe you've been tasked with collecting data, and leadership team needs the summary results. You could do all that you could do that in a team, collaborate on it, and then just give them the link, and then they could pull it into a tab inside of maybe their team, the leadership team, and they can just watch those updates come through as you're collecting responses.
Yep. I just dropped it in our meeting chat. So if you want to see exactly what I have open right here, if you're really curious, you could do that. Question, is there a way to direct a group form to save the results to a particular folder other than the root of the files tab? Thank you, Kevin, for bringing that up. A couple of things you could do. You could move this file. It's okay to move it. It's not going to break the relationship between the form and the Excel document. So you can move this around and that would be fine. And actually, this is pretty new. Joe kind of discovered this pretty recently, and we were both surprised because I don't remember reading about this, and it was kind of cumbersome back in the day, the early days of forms, because if you just went here and created a form, the spreadsheet would get buried somewhere in the deep, dark depths of SharePoint, and it was really difficult to go find it and move it and make it useful. So what we would teach people to do is, like, let's say we've got a folder, and that folder is 2023 January peanut butter survey. Golly, why do I think peanut butter is one word? Maybe I'll get it by the end of this. If you were in the folder inside of Teams, the easiest way to get this started is to click the new button and say new forms for Excel. Think about this like creating forms backwards. We're going to create the data file first, and then we're going to formify it, right? We're going to dictate where the data file lives before we ever even let Microsoft 365 connect a form to that data file. So that gives you ultimate control over where the data file lives. So if I do forms for Excel, and I'm going to make this 2023, hey, I did 2 words. 2023 peanut butter survey. When I click, as soon as I click create, it's going to know, hey, he wants to connect this to a form, and you get to forms through the web. So it should knock me out into my web browser. Yep, there it went. And it's going to, by default, just take whatever you made the file name. So now if I were to start putting stuff in here and I had responses, like I guess I could just do that. Preview it. Option 1, option 2, submit. Now when I go in and I look at this Excel spreadsheet, we've got a tab down here. This is a nuance that you should definitely know about. By default, when you create a new Excel spreadsheet, new workbook, you get sheet 1, well, form 1 is where your data is going to live. So these are the options I just clicked a few seconds ago. And I guess kind of while we're in there, we'll talk about that. You can mess with this spreadsheet. Joe, what are the rules around what I shouldn't touch? Like, I mean, I don't want to like rename this stuff, right? These columns that are actually connected to a question.
Yeah, we've been pretty successful moving some things and changing some titles and things like that pretty well. It's very surprising how well it is able to handle it. It's because it turns that into an Excel term called a table. So there's a little bit more kind of smartness around that data, and gives you the ability to, you can move things around a bit. It's not uncommon. We've had some business processes previously where we've added other columns to it that were maybe some type of data that we were collecting offline that wasn't being collected through the forms, and we were adding those to, in this case, like column J and K and things like that. So yeah, you can do a little bit of manipulation of this.
One thing that you can do is you can create a new sheet, and then you can reference this as like your data source for like some fancy pivot tables or something like that. If you wanted to make some graphs right in Excel, you could just add as many sheets down here as you wanted and make this not just your data set, but also like your visualizations of said data set. So I think, yeah, we got like 30 seconds left. So I guess what I'll do now is I'll leave you with a teaser. So we've shown you that forms can take data and it can put it in Excel, and it can do it in a wonderful way. We've also kind of referenced that Microsoft Forms can be the beginning of a business process. And remember, Microsoft 365 is a whole bunch of apps that all work in union together. So we'll probably talk next month about maybe some more advanced things that you can do with forms, like some automation. Maybe I need to create an intake that automatically alerts me of a job I need to do, almost like a ticketing system, we'll call it. You could do that, and you could make forms the entry point. Or like Joe said in the beginning, you could use forms as the data collection mechanism for a farmer who's taking temperatures of soil multiple times throughout the day. And instead of it just going into Excel, you could do some automations where it goes into, say, like a Microsoft list. So there's some really exciting things that you can do that forms is kind of the beginning of that data process, that journey of what can I do with this information that I'm collecting. And I know you're all scientist people, and there's probably very complex things out there. So I would love feedback. from you on if there's limitations or workarounds that you're having a hard time with. I know there was one about file upload that I'm going to play around with and check out.
And
But hopefully,
sections and branching.
and branching.
Yeah, we want to cover that too.
Yeah. We'll definitely. I think if everybody thinks that's a good idea, maybe we can do forms again. I'm gonna kill the recording, but I'm gonna pop up a poll real quick. So don't bounce out yet. Get forms added to this. That's funny because forms is also what's responsible for polls inside of a Teams meeting. So anyway, we'll talk more next month. I'm gonna go ahead and kill the recording. Thank you everybody for hanging out with us. We really appreciate your time. And again, share this with your friends if you feel like this stuff is meaningful.